Hello? Tony! Well, it's about time I hear from you.
Guess what?
What?
I got a job on Broadway.
You got a job on Broadway doing what?
Dancing. Don't you remember I danced?
Hey, no nudity, I hope.
Come on, come off it.
Tony, keep your clothes on, you hear me?
Look, I'll call you later. I'll tell you all the details.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye. I love you. I gotta change my residence.
A young man, of course, is Tony Manero, 6 years older than when we first met him in Saturday Night Fever. And the sequel to Saturday Night Fever, called Staying Alive, is one of 4 new films and 1 old film we'll be reviewing this week on At the Movies, the movie review program. And across the aisle from me, Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And this is Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune. In addition to Staying Alive, we'll also be looking at the fantasy thriller about an alien creature named Krull, and a comedy about a teenager's love affair with Jackie Bissett in Class, and the finally restored version of the 1954 Judy Garland classic, A Star is Born. Gene starts now with National Lampoon's Vacation.
Well, National Lampoon's Vacation is a goofy comedy travelogue about everything, just about everything that can go wrong when a family from Chicago travels west to the California fun park that the film calls Wally World. And Chevy Chase stars as dear young dad who wants to get a few more miles in before calling it a night.
I'm not tired. Are you kidding? Let's go another 100 miles. Come on. No problem.
Stay at home at night, by the phone at night, but you won't call, and I won't call me Mr. Why you think the town?
TV and come to bed.
Okay, honey. Well, up and at 'em. We're here.
That's one way to find a parking spot, but that scene would have been better, I think, if they had kept that mood music, that Mr. Blue quiet music, instead of going to the jazz music.
Yeah, because the soundtrack music lets you know the movie knows what's happening. It would have been funnier with the...
Just
with the
quiet with all the disaster going on. Now, this film is a no-brainer, to be sure, but the writers have come up with enough jokes like that one that ring true, and enough jokes that are so ridiculous, including one very sick joke about one of their maiden aunts who takes the trip on top of their car. Well, I think the whole thing works. And Chevy Chase has finally found a picture in which he can lean back and not force himself upon us. That's because the writing is so good. I like taking this vacation.
I like the first half of the movie better than the second half. At the beginning of the film, when they go to buy the station wagon, and it's got the 8 headlights on it, you know, kind of the Bruce McCall special, I thought this is going to be like all that great National Lampoon stuff that just pushes American consumerism right over the edge. Then in the last half of the picture, I thought they got so involved in resolving the plot that it was just like an Ozzie and Harriet.
You're talking about when they actually get to the amusement park?
How they get there, what happens.
The beginning is better. I still think that this has enough funny bits that I think that people who, after having suffered all this summer with vacations, I think they'll have a good laugh at the film. I did be. Coming up next at the movie, John Travolta singing and dancing in a film directed by Sylvester Stallone.
This movie is named Class, and it's a retread of a basic story idea you may remember from The Graduate, or You may also remember from about half of the recent wave of teenage sex movies. It's about a love affair between a teenager and a woman old enough to be his mother. And in this case, however, the woman is old enough to be his roommate's mother, and she is his roommate's mother. Now, you think I'm giving away the plot? The posters and ads for this movie emphasize that very secret. So thanks a lot for spoiling the only surprise in the movie. Anyway, the film stars Andrew McCarthy as a prep school senior, and Rob Lowe as his roommate. And in this scene, the roommate, dressed for a Halloween party, convinces him that he's been a virgin long enough. It's time to go into Chicago and meet the right girl.
You look troubled, my son. Worriest thou not about being banished forever from the Foxfield School for Girls? For yea, though they are the only females within 100 miles, there is still a place where thou canst journey to. Chicago, on the 9 o'clock bus.
So he takes the money, he goes to Chicago, he meets a girl all right in her mid-30s. It's Jackie Bissett. And almost immediately she takes him for a wild elevator ride.
This is an elevator. Really? I love elevators. I think they're just wonderful. I love the way they go up and down. Do you? Oh, yeah, I think it's great. Which do you prefer? Going up? Or going down?
I never like it in a scene where the people are talking in words that sound like scripted dialogue, which is the way she was talking there. Do you like it when it goes up or down? And I think you can sort of sense there in that scene one of the basic problems with this movie, which is it can't seem to make up its mind when to be funny and when to be serious. A lot of the early scenes are funny as the preppies play practical jokes on one another, but the relationship with Jackie Bissett is kind of creepy because the movie makes her into an erotic alcoholic with a lot of emotional problems, and since she's a sick woman, it's not funny that she's picking up this kid. And the big scenes, were supposedly big scenes, where the kid finds out who his lover really is, and when his roommate finds out what his mother's really up to, they're supposed to be funny, but basically they're handled in a way that just makes them awkward and embarrassing.
Embarrassing is the word. I think this is basically two movies, one good and one not so good. The good stuff is just what you said, the stuff where we meet these two kids and they play practical jokes.
Their relationship and the life at school.
It's cute, it's funny, and I was laughing. The audience that I saw the film with was, really laughing. Then comes, and you're right, this is what they're playing up in all the ads, the sex scenes with Jacqueline Bissett, and they are awkward, and it's uncomfortable. That scene, this is their first embrace, that was uncomfortable. You could see it right there.
And when they're in bed with each other, they seem to be next to each other but not with each other. They never seem to be playing in a way that is emotionally convincing. Then at the end of the movie, it's really always kind of strange when they take care of a character off screen, It's reported verbally that she's gone off for psychiatric aid, Well, we don't see her do that, and we think, well, that's great for her, but how about us? We're watching the movie. We want to see this character and see what happens to her.
Apparently, there was a scene, I'm told, in the original script where you went to the asylum.
Well, that would have really been a hilarious high point.
It's just, you got two pictures here, and they're really competing with each other, and it's too bad because these kids are very good young actors, and the comedy between them is funny. So I give it a mixed review. Our next film is the sequel to the 12th top-grossing movie of all time. How's that for a trivia question? Saturday Night Fever, the story of a Brooklyn disco king who grows up out of his neighborhood and out of his friends. The new film is called Staying Alive, and it again stars John Travolta as Brooklyn boy Tony Manero, now living in Manhattan in a Fleabag hotel, working part-time as a waiter, trying to get a job as a Broadway dancer. And one day, while watching his girlfriend of his dance in a show, he spots another girl, the lead dancer, and he's drawn to her because she's more dangerous, more unattainable than his regular friend.
You're going to audition, aren't you?
Why not? Rejection's become like a hobby to me now.
Oh, listen to you. Small world. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Now, do you know her?
Just informally.
How'd you meet her?
She was passing by before. I told her she was an okay dancer.
Oh, that's incredible. You told her she's an okay dancer.
Something to that effect.
She's a great dancer. I can't believe you said it.
What about the limo? Whose is it?
I think it belongs to her. Everybody
What's her name? Is she like heavily involved with someone or what?
I don't know. What do you mean by involved?
Anyways, like she got a lot of guys hanging around drooling over, you know.
Look, if you're hot over somebody, I don't want to always hear about it.
I just respect her dancing, that's all.
Yeah.
Did you hear the way she talks? It's so intelligent, like, I love it.
An accent doesn't make someone intelligent. If it did, you'd be Einstein.
Well, their relationship is not what Tony would like it to be, and he finds more satisfaction, just like in the first film, when he is dancing. Well, now the new film is sort of a Rocky story in a leotard, and that makes sense because Staying Alive was co-written and directed by Sylvester Stallone. Unfortunately, Stallone simply doesn't understand what made this first film, the Saturday Night Fever film, work so well. That film was about a character who danced. This movie is just about dancing, endless Broadway dancing that is a cut below anything I've ever seen on Broadway. Lost completely in this movie is the character of Tony Manero. This is supposed to be sort of a victory film for him, but Tony is lost in Manhattan and lost in all the dancing in this movie. Staying Alive, I'm afraid, is just another bad sequel.
Well, you've taken care of Tony Manero. I agree with that. The character isn't there. This doesn't have any of the fire and the vigor and the human kind of feeling of his life in Brooklyn.
Absolutely.
The dancing is no good either.
Absolutely.
I hate to say this. John Travolta is okay as a disco dancer, but he's not a Broadway dancer, and they have to cut and cut to hide that fact in this movie. And in particular, this is one of the first dance movies I've seen that's basically shot from the waist up. You don't see his feet, you don't see his legs. When he jumps, he jumps over a stage that's covered with smoke, or the camera is up above the stage so you can't see how high he's jumping. And then they use montages to try to create a feeling of movement that he can't give as a dancer.
But test with me what's more important.
Okay.
If the character was there, and I think you know this is true, if the character were there, frankly,
you wouldn't care.
You wouldn't care. You wouldn't notice.
That's right.
Because you would care about who's doing the dancing, however well they do it. And you don't have to be great to be liked in the movies. I'm saying the structural flaw here is you have this wonderful, warm guy that we saw grow up with, and it was a rough R-rated movie. This is just PG dazzle, and it's a bunch of star filters and smoke, and we lost
Bubblegum cinematic jukebox.
Absolutely.
Yeah, next at the movies, a monster in a mountain from outer space invades a planet and kidnaps a maiden, and I can hardly wait. That's next. Our next movie is named Krull, and it's a very expensive, ambitious version of those sword and sorcery movies in which the past meets the future and knights with swords battle villains with laser guns. These movies are basically ridiculous. I mean, you just know a horse can't outrun a spaceship. Krull is one of the most boring, nonsensical, illogical fantasies in a long time, maybe all the way back to Dragon Slayer. Here's an example. A warrior prince and his princess are being married, according to the ancient prophecies, when the enemy attacks.
I give fire to water. It will not return, except from the hand of the woman I choose as my wife.
I take fire from water. I give it only to the man whom I choose as my husband.
Guess they're going to have to postpone their honeymoon. Now, where does the enemy come from, those soldiers that look like Star Wars versus Prince Valiant? Well, they're representatives of the mind of Krull, who can make anything materialize. And Krull is the inhabitant of a gigantic mountain that moves through outer space and lands on planets where it blends right in with the scenery and serves as a headquarters for his conquest because nobody notices an extra mountain. Now, this is some mountain. We see it land with rockets like a spaceship, yet later in the movie it reveals the power to dematerialize and teleport itself to other locations on the planet just like that. So when we're asking questions about the mountain, one more question might come up. Since the movie begins by saying that everything in this story has been foretold in ancient prophecies, why is everybody interested in?
That's exactly the kind of thing. I sat here with so many questions, including, if the mountain can transport itself, then why do we ever have to see it? We see it in the opening titles. Here's another one. We see them on horses, and the horses are riding across sort of a wheat field, and the horses are riding so fast, and it's a neat special effect. You can see all the flames, okay? The wheat is burning, all right? Then we see it jump a mountain. You remember this one where it jumps a mountain across? And they're still burning. Now, what's burning? The air? I mean, the hooves? I don't know what's going on. I mean,
obviously, if you're going to ask questions like that, you're not going to enter into the spirit of this movie. I have a better question. If you have an omnipotent villain, what good does it do to fight him in the first place?
Absolutely. There is no way that these people could beat this villain. This villain can do anything. This is one of the best villains, if you will.
So we're not going to give away the ending as to whether they beat the villain or not.
No, but I mean, I think I have already. I mean, there's no way they can win. There's no way they can win, and we're told...
I'll bet you they win.
We're told that in the beginning. We're told it in the beginning. They give away everything.
Somebody tells me they win at the end of this movie.
Okay. Next at the movies, a look at the 1954 Judy Garland classic, A Star is Born, with scenes that have been missing for 30 years.
The night is bitter, the stars have lost their glitter.
Our next movie, A Star is Born, came out in 1954 in a blizzard of Hollywood publicity. It was Judy Garland's comeback and the second movie ever shot in CinemaScope, and it had a controversial plot about alcoholism, but it was 3 hours long, and the studio, Warner Brothers, decided it would do better at the box office if they trimmed about 30 minutes. So they did, and those 30 minutes have been missing for almost 30 years until a California film professor named Ron Haver tracked them down in an old warehouse. And now a restored version of the original Star is Born is playing in big cities around the country. And here's a scene from early in the film where Judy Garland first meets James Mason when he staggers drunk into a benefit performance.
You want to live high or die. You want to have two hearts inside. You gotta have me. So will you. Gotta have me. Gotta have me. All the
Now here's one of the scenes that was cut from the film in 1954, Garland as a car hop.
Good evening.
Well, what's good to eat today?
Well, we have cheeseburgers, nut burgers, banana burgers, chicken burgers, lobster burgers, tuna burgers, chop suey burgers, and our own special super duper super burger.
Well, what's in that?
Everything in the place, all burgered.
Great.
That's part of the restored footage in this new version. They managed to track down about 20 minutes of the 30 missing minutes, and they reconstruct the other 10 minutes out of still photographs, bits and pieces of film, and the original stereo soundtrack, which has survived in one piece. Of the restored footage, there were two really wonderful scenes. One of them is Garland singing Lose That Long Face, and the other one is the scene where Garland and Mason decide to get married, and they think nobody can hear them talking during an orchestra rehearsal, but the sound man is eavesdropping with an overhead mic. Both are wonderful scenes in one of the great tear-jerking, melodramatic Hollywood epics of all time.
I think it's the best musical drama of all time. I don't know what comes close, Cabaret, but I think this is a better, closer, personal story. The added footage does help. We understand that he's more of a shiftless kind of guy, and that she really wants stardom too, so that helps. I think this also is a very important phenomenon that's happening with the movie of this film around the country with special events and high ticket prices and all that. I think that a message is being sent to Hollywood, and everyone knows that Hollywood is making mostly films for young people, teenagers, about young people and their problems. We're not getting adult films. This is an adult movie. And if Hollywood won't make stuff for adults now, then we'll go back, get the good stuff, and play it again.
You know, what's interesting about you saying it's an adult movie, this, of course, this version of A Star is Born was the third version of the same story.
Right.
George Cukor himself made an earlier version.
Right.
And then later, of course, in '76, there was the Christopherson-Streisand version. This version is so realistic as compared to the earlier ones. Mason and Garland give such mature, interesting, three-dimensional performances that, you're right, I think it takes the idea of a musical and raises it into a more serious level.
You could take all the musical scenes out, and you still have an extraordinarily strong film.
You're right.
So much for A Star is Born. Let's recap our reactions to the main movies on this show. Roger and I split on National Lampoon's Vacation. Roger found it dumb and boring. He votes thumbs down. I like some of the gags. I go thumbs up. We agreed on Class, the sex comedy with Jacqueline Bisset. I like the comedy elements. Roger did too. I'd sort of like to twist my thumb sideways. We both dislike intensely the Saturday Night Fever sequel, Staying Alive, too much grade B dancing. And finally, worse was Krull, the sword and sorcery epic. 2 thumbs down for that, and of course the revival of Star is Born, the added footage really makes this great film even more of a joy.
So after looking at 4 1983 movies, we agree that you should see the movie made in 1954.
Right.
That's it for this week. Next week at the movies, a special show named Winners That Were Losers, our selection of unsung classics. Good movies that didn't quite make it at the box office. And until then, we'll see you at the movies.